Hey everybody, how you doing? Just getting to this, and I intended to start early, but hey, look, there's a lot of football going out there, and I'm going to make other live streams, but I want to start with this one. The Browns, Jameis Winston upset the Ravens. You know that by now, and Lamar Jackson, 29-24. This contest, however, is significant for a whole set of reasons. Let's go through them. First of all, the Browns entered this contest 1 win and 6 losses. This is the 8th game. This is NFL Week 8. This is halfway through the season. And through a weird twist of fate, Winston wound up starting. Think about it. Now, many of you know that Jameis Winston is my favorite quarterback, primarily because of a combination of his extraordinarily talent that led him to be a national champion at Florida State, but then a series of efforts off field to diminish his public image, primarily because a woman by the name of Erica Kinsman sought with her boyfriend, now husband, to extort Jameis Winston and successfully Florida State for $950,000 on what was claimed in a sexual assault charge. But look, Jameis was never charged. On 3 occasions, law enforcement said he did absolutely nothing wrong, and witnesses said he did nothing wrong. In fact, they said Kinsman was the aggressor, and it turned out that Kinsman was dating Jamal Roberts all the time. And Jamal Roberts recently told me, as recently as last year, that if I took the video announcing his marriage to Erica Kinsman down, he would tell me everything. Tell me everything, which means to me an admission of guilt. Now, all of that has clouded Jameis Winston's career because teams have not invested heavily in him. And that was true most notably for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then they got, the Buccaneers did, Bruce Arians to be coach, and Arians put Jameis Winston in the first system he was in for his entire career, one that prized the deep ball, but didn't pay attention to timing. And a system that was so bad that Carson Wentz said it took him 2 years, not a year, but 2 years to master it. Why? Because everything was so loosey-goosey without the proper pointed process with respect to ball control and with respect to footwork that you were going to throw a lot of interceptions your first year. Carson should know. He threw 22 interceptions his first year. He then improved to 14 the next year. But Jameis had 1 year in that system, 1 year, which he famously went 30 touchdowns, 33 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. Last game was against the Atlanta Falcons, where he threw a pick 6 for a touchdown on a throw that wasn't so much as ill-advised as ill-designed. The whole play was poorly designed, and it was an example of the whole number of plays that Winston was asked to run in that offense. And prior to that, Winston had Dirk Carter first as offensive coordinator and then as head coach, where his offensive coach was Todd Monken, who was really just getting a feel for how to properly call plays with respect to Winston, but put Jameis Winston in a lot of bad situations, all right? It wasn't until 2020 and then 2021 when Winston got into a system that showcased what he was capable of doing, and that was Sean Payton, where he learned process and, as he says, how to recognize what passes not to throw and when not to throw them, as opposed just to when to throw a pass. A major lesson for him. But through all this, Jameis Winston has also played hurt. Jameis Winston had a number of injuries not talked about. The LASIK is mentioned, but he had played with 8 different injuries during his last campaign, 2019, with the Bucks. And on the last game, he was really due for ankle surgery and never got it. Jameis Winston was banged up for most of his Buccaneers career. And he played, again, in a system that didn't prize ball control passing or efficient passing, but deep passing. And so it's no wonder that at no time was his career rating greater than 92.3. He never saw 100. With the Saints, it was 102. Well, today, after his scintillating 27 of 41, 334-yard, 3-touchdown, and no interception contest, Jameis Winston has the highest career rating for a season he's ever had. He stands at 111.1. And let's take a look at the numbers right here. Right here, okay? This is what I was talking about with his numbers that looked with the Buccaneers. Starting 84.2 his first year, he got up to 92.2 in 2017. Then his ratings took a backward dive. 2019 Buccaneers in that offense, we threw for 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, 84.3. With the Saints in 2020, he basically didn't play much. 2021 with the Saints, that was his improvement career, 102.8. But then they switched. They fired Sean Payton. Didn't fire. He left. He resigned. Dennis Allen took over. Had Pete Carmichael as offensive coordinator, running a different system, not the ball control system that Sean Payton favored. So no surprise, Winston was 79.5 in a very, very, very awful situation. Then backing up Derek Carr, which was last year, he was 57.4 in an offense that was really tailored to Derek Carr, meaning simplified so he could pick it up, but was the kind of offense that asked you to throw to a receiver, was predetermined, but it didn't have a primary or secondary. It was one of the worst offenses in terms of design I've ever seen in my entire life. So here comes Jameis Winston of the Browns to a gentleman by the name of Ken Dorsey as offensive coordinator, who remembers Ken from when Jameis was burning up the playing fields as a quarterback with Florida State, and Ken Dorsey was offensive coordinator with Miami, and they both paid attention to what each other did. So now they're paired. And Ken Dorsey was really excited preseason what he planned to do working with Jameis Winston. What we saw today was exactly that. And what did it produce? It produced the best ratings of his career. 111, I said 0.1, no, 111.9 rating, a total of 417 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, a completion percentage of 60.2.3. And I attribute that not just to the different system, but the fact that Jameis Winston is truly healthy. He doesn't have any of the injury problems he had in the past. Remember the torn ACL after the 7th game of 2021 when Devin White came through and illegally horse collar tackled him. And for that, he got, a $15,000 fine. Devin White did that to him, chasing him out of bounds and grabbed his horse collar. Jameis had to rehabilitate from that. And in doing so, found a new treatment program in New Orleans the very next year, which really wrote the path for his NFL career from that point on. And you could see the difference in his movement. You could see that his body was really taking to the treatments. And so now at 30 years old, it's fair to say that we're really getting a Jameis Winston who arguably at least 25 years old. And he's playing like it. Without this pain, with better vision improvement, and with a system that truly respects space and speed, I'm talking about the one that Ken Dorsey installed, Jameis Winston is well on his way to being considered the best, if not one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And that is the situation around which this upset happened. Because it wasn't just that, but it was also Jameis' powerful belief in the Lord Jesus Christ. We just have to put that there, that causes him to focus and keep an eye on his objectives and always believe in what he is visualizing. We talked today about speaking something to existence, visualizing wins, and this was very much about that. He's a very powerful personality now that people want to gravitate toward, rally around. He is fully himself. If anything, a man in full. And but also all the problems are behind him is, as I said, revealed that what was done to him was cosmetic by people who don't want him to be great, by people who would criticize him as recently as the second year he was at Florida State, when it became clear that he was the chosen one, as someone put the moniker on him. Then all of a sudden, we had defenses throwing their best at him, which is expected. But then people like Mike Mayock saying, well, he's got an interception problem, trying to devalue his stock because they didn't like him. They didn't like the situation with Kinsman and all of that stuff, all right? And they weren't honest about it. They weren't honest about it. Now, all of that is behind him. He has the same dated in high school, dated through Florida State. Now his wife for quite some time, two awesome kids, great family unit, great father, great mother. I know them both. And he's on his way. And so we put all of that together with what the Browns should have done but didn't do. They felt obligated to play DeShaun Watson to see what they had after he rehabilitated. But if you paid attention to the Browns offseason, it became clear to you that, hey, DeShaun Watson wasn't exactly the person that we believed he was coming out of his injury. He never played a preseason down snap. And then the regular season came, and it was as if he really had a problem getting a good oomph on the ball and a good zip. And yet Jameis Winston, who did have, when he was out there, good effective preseason, was literally just sitting on the bench. And then he was demoted to, not playing, only to watch as DeShaun Watson went down with an injury. And then Dorian Thompson-Robertson came in, filled in for him, injured his pinky finger, but let's face it, threw 2 interceptions and was ineffective in a backup role where he became the starter. All of that paved the way, including Jameis's public comments that he rightly did not like how the crowd was booing DeShaun Watson's injury for Jameis to start, because Jameis proved to the public what he proved to many people. He was a leader, unafraid to say what the direction in society should be and how people should conduct themselves regardless of what other people say. And so this victory has to be understood in that context. This is truly, as a number of people have written, a new Jameis Winston, but I would simply say it is not so much a new Jameis Winston, but a Jameis Winston unchained, because society, for much of his career, has tried to essentially chain him mentally. Now those chains are removed. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark NFL News by Zenny62.com. That ends the stream.